So, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the second one, released November 17th, 2017. Millions went to their local GameStop to buy the greatest Star Wars game, or at least they thought. The game has a storyline with a new character named Iden Versio, and also has a multiplayer platform that still thrives today. It was developed by DICE and published by EA, the Palpatine of this story. It contains all three trilogies and a load of heroes and villains. It's almost impossible to mess up a Star Wars video game. You have everything you need: a massive audience who is sure to play your game, and a massive company backing the game. The game was almost perfect, besides some terrible bugs in the early game that were easily fixed. For anybody who has heard of the game, the first thing you think of is what could have been. The story of this game is crazy. To say the least, Battlefront 2 had the worst release. The pay to win aspect off the bat deterred many from becoming fans. Many abandoned the game before the first year, setting the game's odds of being legendary behind the starting line. With multiple updates, they had one of the greatest recoveries in gaming history. After defeating the first challenge, Battlefront had a steady rise. Some of the favorite games to play were Galactic Assault and really anything to do with the Clone Wars. There were even YouTubers giving the game popularity, like my favorites Battlefront Night and Frag Out Sentry. The game kept getting better and more popular as time passed. Then the Rise of Skywalker update dropped. It was a massive update that focused on the newest movie in Star Wars. This officially marked its peak and full redemption. It seemed like this game would go down in history, and it did, for the wrong reason. Part 2: The Downfall. As 2020 rolled around, the updates slowed down and fans started becoming concerned with the devs' motivation to keep the game going. Many were confused, but many wrote it off and thought, why would they pull the plug on a game that had just hit its peak and it could possibly even go higher? Yet that was exactly what happened. EA announced the game's last update in order to move developers to Battlefield 2042. Everybody knew that this would be a terrible decision, and this was further shown by the release of Battlefield. Many were devastated, including the developers. After putting in so much effort to see Battlefront 2 bloom, they had to watch it die. Many of these devs straight quit DICE as they knew how dumb Battlefront was treated. They talked about how they had plans for heroes like Ahsoka Tano and Asajj Ventress, and they also planned to add more maps. There were petitions to bring it back to live service or even to make a third game, but these prayers were never answered. But not all hopes were lost. The community could still keep the game alive, and that's what they have done till today. Many on PC have made mods for characters that we have missed out on, and even without mods, Battlefront still has a lively game base that still plays to this day. In retrospect, it was totally worth it. I have at least 250 plus hours on Battlefront, and I don't regret not having a life at all. As a Star Wars fan, it is incredibly enjoyable, and I would suggest it to anybody who is thinking about buying it, especially if you have a friend or two. I've logged nearly 60 hours of Battlefront with my best friend on PS5, and I have 55 hours on my PS5 alone. If you want suggestions for something to play with your friend, we have the most fun doing Ewok Hunt. It's incredibly fun and is 10 times better at night. I hate to say this word, but aura, that's what I would describe Ewok Hunt at night. Anyways, there is no point in being sad. It is an incredibly fun game even though it was 7 years old. The fun times I've had playing this game will never be forgotten, and memories are what makes video games fun. Though there is still hope for a third, I wouldn't get your hopes up. At least not for now. Not many games have been resounded like Battlefront, and definitely not to the extent that it was. But what do you think EA and DICE were going to do? Money-hungry corporations like them don't really care about the game, and rather they care about the profits. EA is building a monopoly of money because of Madden. I hate to say it. They have cheated me out of $60 every year because of the hopes that I have that their game is going to get better. The gaming industry is full of these, and there's nothing we can do about it. But after all, they have done that. They did make the game, and that is what I'm thankful for. I'm so glad about that. We can't hate them. We can just voice our opinion. They are still giving us the games. I hope that DICE and EA hear this, and all their other voices calling for a third game, which arguably would get them a huge payday. They may have made one of the biggest mistakes in gaming history, but is nothing they can't change. Battlefront is an incredibly fun game, which is often imitated but never duplicated, yet its downfall is still reality. This is a micro documentary on one of the greatest mistakes in gaming history: the downfall of Battlefront 2.